welcome or welcome back, friends, to Unrestrained with Raph and Skye. Okay, so today we have our three stories that we're going to talk about, and then we're just going to go from there. So I'm going to begin with the story about New Jersey legalizing weed.
I love this. I love this.
Okay, so last week, the New Jersey residents overwhelmingly, not surprisingly, voted to legalize recreational marijuana in the state. And so now, basically, the state is going to legalize it, but they're trying to figure out the details, like what are they going to tax it as, where are they going to sell it, what blah, 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 like all those little details that are important. And it's just really exciting that New Jersey has finally decided to step over to, the weed side, if I can say that myself.
It's about damn time, man.
It really is.
It is about damn time.
Okay, and my sincere hope is that Jersey doing it, maybe do of the East Coast will get on board because, like you said, it's about damn time. Period. But the amendment allows adults 21 and over to legally use cannabis for personal use. It allows cannabis products to be taxed, and it'll go into effect at the beginning of 2021. The only thing that I have an issue with is that now that weed is legalized in New Jersey, they haven't said anything about the criminalization of it before now, right? So people who are in jail for petty crimes, for petty weed distribution or holding, they haven't said anything about releasing them or reducing their sentences since weed is now legal. So I do not like that, but
Yeah, I mean, when you legalize weed, right, or any drugs, and I'm gonna talk about this later as part of my election recap, but even when the House voted to decriminalize weed last week, they had a provision in there that said that they would expunge the criminal records of anyone who was imprisoned for it. Because, it's not enough to just legalize it when thousands of people or hundreds of thousands or even millions of people are in jail right now for using cannabis. So, this is great. It's absolutely phenomenal. If I'm not mistaken, on election night, Mississippi and South Dakota legalized it too.
Nice. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Mississippi.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mississippi and South Dakota. So
Wow.
the thing that is kind of great is that since more and more states are realizing that weed is really no big deal, it kind of forces the federal government to do something at the federal level, because you can't put that genie back in that bottle,
Yeah, not at all.
So in because in New York, right? So Governor Cuomo has been talking about legalizing weed for 2 years now. He's tried to do it several times, even though he doesn't want to do it. He's tried to do it. He's failed, and we can get into that as to why he's failed, but that's a different conversation. But even he realized that it's inevitable. If you go to New York, people don't talk about if weed becomes legal. They're talking about when weed is legal. So a lot of people kind of see it as inevitable, like Saoirse Ronan winning an Oscar. It's inevitable. So yeah, it's phenomenal that so many states are getting on board, and New Jersey, that's great. And it's just great that we're not even talking about the easier conversation, right? Which is medical marijuana.
Yeah.
It's that's just such a no-brainer at this point that I think I saw this poll that, like, it's a fairly old poll, so take it with a grain of salt, but like I think 94% of Americans want legal medical cannabis or something.
Wow.
So like, yeah, so like the Overton window is kind of shifting, and like it's becoming more and more accepted, and it's a great thing because the war on drugs literally ruins lives. Like
Okay.
this is what we talked about last time. It literally ruins lives.
Now they get to change it. They get to fucking stop
Yeah,
that shit. Yeah.
yeah. It's
Beautiful.
so
So
has
that was it for my story.
yeah. So one quick question though before we move on to my story. How's North Carolina with legal cannabis doing? Do they have, like, what are the marijuana laws on the books there? Is it legal?
I think we've decriminalized it, so you can have like less than, I think, like two. Let me Google it real quick. But I'm pretty sure it's decriminalized, so you can have it as long as you don't like intend to
Yeah, I mean,
distribute.
it really is like a no-brainer at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like, weed is just I'm gonna steal a joke from John Oliver here, that he said that weed is just one of those things that people realized is sort of okay, like Mark Wahlberg as a serious actor. I mean, like, think of
uh,
Marky Mark as a serious actor. If you said that 20 years ago, people would say you're crazy.
yeah, like no way, that's not true. And now
Yeah.
look at you.
Yeah. Everything changes, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think it's for the better too. Like no cap, no kissy, no
Yeah,
kissy.
yeah, definitely. So,
I just saw, to answer your
yeah.
question, it says the Task Force for Racial Equity and Criminal Justice and NC recommended decriminalizing possession for up to 1.5 ounces of marijuana.
Okay, so they decriminalized it, which means that you can use it, but you can't sell it, basically.
And it says holding small amounts would still be a civil offense, but it's no longer going to appear on criminal records.
I mean, progress, I guess. Right?
Right,
I mean, it really should be legalized everywhere.
right.
Yeah. I mean, Mexico just legalized weed, which is incredible.
That's awesome. I didn't even know it was illegal in Mexico.
Yeah. It's really counterintuitive, but it actually was. It actually was illegal in Mexico, and now the president of Mexico, Lopez Obrador, he legalized weed, and it's set to become the biggest marijuana market in the world.
Right on. I can see it. I can see it. I
Yeah,
can smell it.
yeah.
I can feel it. Yeah.
You can smell it.
I can smell.
Oh my god, we are just filled with the jokes today. Okay, so
You know.
um any final thoughts before we move on to my first story?
Just legalize weed everywhere. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it. Okay, so for my story, I thought I would do a recap of the election that we had, since we didn't have a normal episode last time. We had an interview. We weren't able to talk about the election we just had. So before I start, Skye, do you want to know the good news first or the bad news first?
Ooh, bad news. Yeah, go ahead.
Bad news first. Okay, so the bad news is that the Democrats got absolutely clobbered in down ballot races. Just absolutely clobbered.
Yikes.
Like, we lost seats in the House. Like, we had, like, remember in 2018 we had this huge majority in the House, it's now like a razor thin majority.
Okay, but it's still a
Um,
majority.
yeah, it's still a
Okay,
majority, but
but
it's less safe than before.
yikes.
And I mean, there was this election that blew my mind that um, Max Rose, who is a Democrat who represents Staten Island, right? That's one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. He ran as a centrist, moderate Democrat who's sort of Republican light, and he lost. And now we have Republicans representing congressional districts in New York City.
Wow.
Yeah. It's,
Wow.
yeah. Um, According to Nate Silver's 538, there was supposed to be a 75% chance that we were going to take over the Senate, and now we'll be lucky if we take over the Senate. Like, we were supposed to win the Senate outright, like get 51 or 52 seats. Right now, best case scenario, it's going to be 50-50, and Kamala Harris is going to have to break the tie. More bad news. Susan Collins from Maine, she won re-election. I mean, she was literally the most hated senator in America. Everyone thought she was going to lose, and she ended up winning re-election comfortably.
Wow.
Mitch McConnell won re-election. Mitch McConnell, the Grim Reaper, he won re-election. In North Carolina, Tom Tillis won re-election. He was supposed to lose in a gigantic landslide against Cal Cunningham, but he didn't. He won fairly comfortably. Jamie Harrison. This is one that the Democrats were really excited about, that Lindsey Graham was incredibly vulnerable in South Carolina, but Jamie Harrison ended up losing to Lindsey Graham.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't a huge success at the down ballot level. And I mean, if this isn't a huge moment of introspection for the Democratic establishment at large, I mean, they are beyond screwed. Like, if they're not making some serious changes, we are going to get absolutely clowned in 2022.
Yeah. I'm so interested. I I wonder what happened,
I
Like,
mean, the Democrats ran on being Republican light, basically. Because, like, the whole thing with Joe Biden's campaign was that he said, oh, Donald Trump is the entire problem, and the other Republicans in DC are great, and I can't wait to work with them, and I can't wait to compromise with Mitch McConnell, and like Susan Collins is great, and Lisa Murkowski is great. So when the Democrats kept saying Trump is the entire problem, but the other Republicans are fine, they were like, okay, I'm going to vote for the other Republicans then.
got it.
And
Yikes.
and
Yikes.
when you look at all of the people that lost re-election, it was all the moderate Democrats, all the Republican lights. All of the progressives won re-election in landslides, which brings me to the good news. Best segue ever, I know.
Yeah.
So, the good news. Every single candidate who ran on Medicare for All won. Every
Yay.
single one, no exception. All but one of the candidates who ran on a Green New Deal won.
Nice.
Every single state that had a legal marijuana ballot initiative passed it overwhelmingly.
Surprising. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Florida voted to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
Sweet.
What else? What else? Am I forgetting something? Oh yeah, Trump lost.
Ah.
It was funnily enough, right? Because the final electoral count, I mean, unless something weird happens with the electoral college, which Trump is trying to do, it'll be Joe Biden 306 to Trump 232, which was actually the exact margin of victory that Trump had over Hillary Clinton in the electoral college in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically, when we did our election special, right, I predicted that Biden would win with, I think it was 335 electoral votes was my prediction. He ended up winning with 306. So he underperformed massively. Basically, the only reason why he won is, first of all, COVID. I mean, let's be real. If it wasn't for COVID, Trump would have won re-election easily.
Why do you say that?
Because, like, he was so, like, even though the economy wasn't good before COVID, the perception was that the economy was good. And the classic question that people have, like every time an incumbent is running for re-election, people ask, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And before COVID, a lot of people were saying, yeah, because the stock market was strong. I mean, I don't really think the stock market is a good indication of the strength of the economy, but yeah. So when COVID hit and we started just hemorrhaging jobs, and we basically entered a new Great Depression, I mean, it would be hard for the best politician on earth to overcome that. And is Trump the best politician on earth? I don't think so. So, looking back at my election prediction, where did I go wrong? I thought that Joe Biden was going to win Florida. He didn't. And the reason why I thought Biden was going to win Florida was that I knew that there was this $15 an hour minimum wage ballot initiative, and I thought that would make it so more Biden supporters show up and, like, they vote in favor of raising the minimum wage, and then they vote for Joe Biden because Joe Biden, ostensibly at least, supports raising the minimum wage. But that didn't work out. So it's interesting because Florida voted overwhelmingly for a $15 minimum wage. but they voted for Trump over Biden, even though Biden is the one who supports raising the minimum wage. So if Biden had run more often on raising the minimum wage, he would have won Florida.
I see.
I also, back to the electoral map, I thought that Biden was going to win North Carolina because the gap between Cal Cunningham and Tom Tillis was like 9 or 10 points. I didn't think that Tom Tillis would overshoot the polls by 9 or 10 points or more. Like, I did not see that coming, and that's on me. And something else that I was wrong on, I thought that Trump was going to win Georgia. I thought it was going to be really, really close, but I thought he was going to win Georgia. And he didn't. Biden narrowly won Georgia. So even though he lost ground in Florida and North Carolina, he made up ground in Georgia by winning Georgia. And a beautiful piece of poetic irony is that the congressional district that put Joe Biden over the top in Florida, in Georgia, was John Lewis's congressional district. So
Aww.
that's some poetic irony and poetic justice there.
That's beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on election night? What was election night for you, basically?
Election night was just me not looking at any TVs or not looking at any polls or not looking at anything and just kind of like being in my zone. Because I like for me like okay, I couldn't stress myself out like with that like.
Because like we knew from the very beginning that this election was going to require us to be more patient than usual. Because there are so many mail-in ballots that take so long to be counted, we knew that the election was not going to get called on election night. And we knew that on election night, it was going to appear as though Trump had a bigger lead than he actually did. So, like, I remember on election night, I kept getting these texts from all my friends, and like they were like, "Oh my God, he's gonna win again! He's gonna win again!" Because like at the end of the night, at like 1 a.m. or something, Trump was winning in Florida, Georgia, Ohio. He was winning in the entire Rust Belt. And like he was winning in Pennsylvania. He was up by like 200,000 votes with 80% of the votes counted. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, he's gonna win again." And I said, "No, hold, calm down, because the mail-in ballots haven't come in yet, and those are expected to overwhelmingly go for Biden."
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's called the Red Mirage.
Mm-hmm.
So I was right once again, and people were losing their goddamn minds.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I went into work election day, like before we even had our podcast, and people were like, "I'm so nervous. I'm so scared. And I'm like, whoa, chill out. We're not going to know tonight. Like, you're fine. Chill out.
I mean, like, being nervous is actually kind of a double-edged sword, because if you're nervous, that's good. You should go out and vote.
Correct.
The proper response is to go out and vote. Because like when I was running for office, I promise to not incorporate my run for office into every episode we do, but just one last time when I ran for office, like an mindset that I had is like always act as if you're down by 20. Because you can't be overconfident. you know?
Got it. Yeah.
So
No.
like I think it was Tiger Woods who said this in an interview. He said, if I'm up by 1, I want to be up by 2. If I'm up by 2, I want to be up by 5. If I'm up by 5, I want to be up by 10. If I'm up by 10, I want to be up by 20.
Keep shooting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the dude won the PGA tournament on a broken leg.
Damn. That's skill. That's skill
Yeah,
right there. Like,
yeah.
oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, it would have been so easy for him to go, ow, this really hurts. I'm not doing this anymore. But he didn't. So, like, the response for, oh, I'm so nervous about the election results is to go out and vote. And, oh, before I forget, one last piece of bad news. Ranked choice voting lost in Massachusetts.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. There was this huge propaganda campaign against it. Like, people were saying that ranked choice voting is racist, which, what? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. But they did
Interesting.
that to make it so people didn't vote for it, and it
Mm-hmm.
worked, and
Mm-hmm.
it failed. So that's some bad news. But overall, there is some room for improvement, but I would say, yes, it's really, really good that Trump is no longer going to be president next year.
Thank you, Jesus. Yeah.
But also now the real fight begins,
Yeah.
because Joe Biden has shown that he is not going to meet us on the issues that we care about unless we absolutely push him to the wall. So we need to be that force that pushes Joe Biden to be the most progressive president he can be.
Yeah. I mean, that's great because like we couldn't have done that with Trump, obviously. So this is like we're at least we have a fighting chance now. So
Yeah, yeah,
frick, that's encouraging.
yeah. This election was about the person that you'd rather fight more than the
Yep.
person that you'd rather have as president. So, any final thoughts before your second story?
Yeah, I just want like use like if you're nervous, go vote for sure, 100%. But after you vote, realize that like you've done all you can do and just like keep pushing. I don't know, keep hoping. Stop thinking that there's more you can do. Like, because once you voted,
I
you
mean,
voted.
yeah, but there is more you can do, right? You can push the candidate that you support. You can hold them accountable. I mean, like, if you look at like Joe Biden's cabinet appointments, like we got Neera Tanden, who like wanted to steal oil from Libya and wanted to cut Social Security.
Yikes.
So like voting, like, it isn't really like a noble act. It's not like a heroic act. It's just a thing you do, you know? And
Yeah,
like after the election, then the real fight begins, because the most important thing isn't elections, isn't voting, it's activism.
I like that.
Yeah, like a perfect example, LBJ didn't want to sign the Civil Rights Act, but Martin Luther King forced him to. So there are no politicians that are going to save us, you know? We need to save ourselves.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I just like quick tangent, real quick. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
so wild that like we vote for these people, that these people are meant to like speak with our voices, but they don't, and we still
Yeah,
have to like fucking fight to be heard. Like it's
yeah.
so that's a disconnect right there for me. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
America's not really a democracy when you think about it. Like, there was this Princeton study that I bring up all the time, that they found that the US effectively functions as an oligarchy, not a democracy. And an oligarchy, for those who aren't aware, is a system of government that's buy-in for the rich. So the U.S. functions as an oligarchy.
Yeah, no, of course it is. And we can blame capitalism.
Yeah.
Okay, my second story is about COVID, the second wave of COVID coming back.
Oh
It's really
boy.
about, okay. Like, I don't want to be selfish. Like, I'm sick of COVID. I'm sick of it. I wish it would die and go away. But I'm still gonna do what I need to do to protect myself and protect others. I'm still gonna follow the laws. But honestly, I just wish it was over. But anyway, it's crazy because, like, honestly thought maybe we were getting better, like with the vaccine on the way and people, I don't know why I thought that, but in my email I got this like Yahoo News about California imposing a stay-at-home order, and I was like, dang, California is going crazy. And then I was listening to the news the other day and I found out North Carolina is going to actually input a stay-at-home order from like 10
My
p.m. or a
God.
curfew from like 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. so no one can be out. And I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. So this is just like for
Oh
California, it's
man.
deeper, right? Like
Yeah.
they
Because like they're packed with people.
exactly. And like the restrictions are like hella tight because of how packed they are with people. And I'm just wondering, like, are other states going to follow suit? Is North Carolina, are we going to go back to like when we first found out about COVID and everyone stops working and we're all on uninsurance, or like what I'm wondering what this next wave of quarantine is going to look like,
Yeah.
if we even get there. Like,
Yeah, like I think
curious.
that honestly, like Trump isn't going to do like a national lockdown um and he's got like a month left. He's not going to do that with a month left basically. So
Yeah.
it's really up to the states. And one thing that I think is really interesting about COVID is that a lot of people don't understand that if we all just agreed that we were going to stay home, wear masks, and socially distance for a few weeks, we would be done with this shit by now.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Like, but because people are stupid, we have to stay home longer than we would if everyone just like agreed to stay home and wear masks for a few weeks.
Yep. No, and it's like, I just realized Thanksgiving was here, right? So people
Yeah,
went and traveled, and that's probably like
because
accounting for
that's not
why.
an objectively stupid idea.
Right? Like, is it worth it? I think that's the question you have to ask yourself. Is it worth it? Is me going across these state lines to go visit my family elsewhere who may or may not have COVID, is that worth me bringing it back home? Is that worth me,
I mean, it
possibly
depends.
giving
How
it to
much do
someone
you love your
else?
grandparents?
Okay? Okay?
Yeah,
Okay?
it's insane. Like, and if you look at other countries, right, that handled COVID a lot better, like New Zealand, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, right, Jacinda Ardern, weird name, I know, but she shut down the country. They did a lockdown in February, and it was really really strict. They shut down travel to and from New Zealand in early January, and
Nice.
they've had less than 2,000 cases and 25 deaths. Like they've completely controlled
Wow.
COVID. Japan didn't do a shutdown of the entire country, but what they did is a national mask mandate. So they did limited economic shutdowns of some sectors of the economy, and they just said everybody has to wear a mask when they're outside. And they controlled COVID. They had less than 1,000 deaths, and like the US is about to hit 300,000.
Baby.
Yeah, yeah. So like if we all just agreed that we were going to do the responsible thing, we would be done with this by now. And like a mask isn't really that big an imposition on your freedom. I see a lot like wearing a seatbelt.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Keeping you safe for your own sake.
Yeah.
And it's not like obtrusive or anything. I know like a few people who think that like wearing masks is just a government way of trying to control you. And I think that's such an interesting
Like it's
take on the
like
on the mandate.
it's not though, like it's not the government trying to control you, because like it's just a piece of fabric on your face. You can still breathe fine, you can still talk fine. Like if the
Yeah,
issue is that like your friends don't recognize you on the street, like you can buy a shirt that says, "Hi, it's me, Steve."
right?
um like it's a basic public health measure. It's not like an imposition or a restriction of your freedom or anything.
No. And it just, because I've met more than one person who thinks like that. And so it's just really crazy. Like, why? Like, why the fuck is that where you go immediately? Like, why not, hey, let me take care of myself and keep myself protected and others protected? Like, I don't know. It's a mental thing that I can't understand
Yeah,
at
like
all.
I think that like part of the problem is that there's been a lot of mixed messaging, because like since Trump wasn't willing to do a national mask mandate or do a national lockdown, or since there wasn't anything cohesive coming out of the White House, the states have kind of been left to fend for themselves. And like one governor says one thing and another governor says another, so nobody really knows who to believe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually, I've, again, talked to somebody and they really turned it into like a party thing. They're like, oh yeah, the left is really da 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 da. And I'm
Like
like, oh my God, wait, whoa.
it's not a political issue. It's literally a public health issue.
Okay.
Like, how is this political?
I don't know. COVID doesn't say, "Oh, you're a Republican. Let me come kill you." Oh, you're a Democrat. Let me stay with like it. COVID doesn't know. COVID's a fucking disease. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a
Like
virus,
literally,
whatever.
it's
Yeah.
so stupid. And also, I know that we're gonna get some comments about this, so let me just say this: if you genuinely have a medical condition that makes it so you cannot wear a mask without suffocating, stay home.
Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Because like people are saying, "Oh, I have this medical condition that I can't breathe with a mask on." First of all, I don't believe you, and
Yeah,
second
that
of
sounds
all,
fake.
if you do, if you actually do, then all the more reason to stay home, because you're more at risk.
Period. Yeah. There you go. Public service announcement. PSA. Take it to heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just I'm still confused by how people are still not taking this serious.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm in Brazil, right? And like
Yeah.
the president of Brazil, who's Jair Bolsonaro, his strategy has been basically herd immunity, right? He didn't do a national mask mandate. There's no nationwide testing strategy. Like he wants as many people to get infected as possible in order to build up immunity. And
Oh, what?
yeah, and when it was brought up to him that like, oh, people are dying, like Brazil has the second highest death toll by COVID in the world. And he was like, yeah, well, everyone dies eventually, so.
Tell me why someone with me. Wow. They said that they were gonna die eventually, and COVID was just like the icing on
No,
the cake.
like,
And
no,
I'm like,
like
whoa.
it's not even that. It's like he says everyone dies eventually. So like, yeah, death. It happens. But
Wow.
like it's preventable though. I mean, when, like, I'm sure I've brought this up before because it's so infuriating, but when Brazil hit 60,000 COVID deaths, the president went jet skiing.
Mm.
Jet skiing.
Wow.
It's
Yeah, he doesn't care.
yeah,
Yikes.
yeah.
So, like, do you guys, is there, blah, blah, blah. Are tests available? Even if it's not like
I
nationwide, like,
mean, like, yes, but you gotta pay an arm and a leg for it. Like
yikes.
they are not cheap. The tests are not cheap. And considering that the minimum wage in Brazil is about $1.15 an hour,
Yikes.
yeah, it's horrible. Like the like if you already have symptoms and you're already hospitalized because of those symptoms, they test you. But other than that, like the only people who actually get tested are the people who can afford to.
That sucks.
Yeah,
Yikes. Yeah.
yeah. And like at the beginning of the pandemic, um, Bolsonaro was talking about like, oh, it's fine. It's only the public hospitals that are going to get overwhelmed. The private hospitals are going to be fine.
What?
Yeah, so because like since Brazil has a public option healthcare system, it basically means that we have class segregated hospitals where like the private hospitals, the people who can afford private health insurance go to the better quality hospitals.
Oh,
And
wow.
those people are mostly rich and mostly white and affluent. And it's mostly the poor Black people that are siphoned off to the public hospitals. And so, like, Bolsonaro would only really do anything if the private hospitals start getting overwhelmed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That sucks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like it's insane that we elected this guy, and we'll get to another story on Brazil later, but yeah, he's an absolute lunatic.
Yeah. No, he sounds like a lunatic.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so sorry that you guys have to experience that.
yeah. I mean, like it's funny because like because I started off the pandemic in the US, right? And my parents were like, "Oh no, you have to come spend it here with us in Brazil." And I went from one epicenter to another.
Yeah. Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
So my second story of the day is actually relating again to the 2020 election. And there's this article that Nina Turner wrote for the Washington Post. And if you don't know who Nina Turner is, she was Bernie Sanders' campaign co-chair. She recently announced just today, as we're recording this, that she is running for Congress for Marcia Fudge's old seat. And she wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post entitled "Working People Delivered Biden His Victory. Now He Needs to Deliver for Them."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and she said, after all, it was working people's organizations that had millions of conversations with voters this year. It was not the political operatives of the Lincoln Project or the Third Way who knocked the doors, who spoke to the voters, who heard their concerns. It was laid off union members in South Phoenix, African American community organizers in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Latinx Zoomers in Reading, Pennsylvania. None of us intend to let the far right of the Democratic coalition claim a mandate for status quo politics. Politically, a return to normalcy is simply a circuitous route back to Trumpism. So-called normalcy has never worked if you are poor or among the barely middle class, and it will not work now. Being better than Trump is a low bar. This moment demands, and the citizens of this nation deserve, leadership with a vision to provide for the people. Anything less is unacceptable. The Democratic Party's future and the future of America depend on it. So basically, the Biden campaign had this strategy, right? That they were going to expand the Democratic base to include moderate, affluent white suburbanites. And they accepted help from Never Trump Republicans in the Lincoln Project, like John Kasich, the Republican governor of Ohio, spoke at the Democratic convention, and he spoke for like 5 minutes while Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had only 90 seconds to speak. And Biden is appointing a lot of Republican light people to his cabinet. He appointed Neera Tanden. He appointed Janet Yellen and Anthony Blinken for Secretary of State. Like all these incredibly conservative Democrats and even some moderate Republicans. And in exchange for that, he said, we're going to forget progressives. We're going to forget young people of color. We're going to not reach out to Latinos at all. And interesting story about the Latino vote in the 2020 election is that in Zapata County in Texas, right? It's the second most Latino county in America. Obama won there by 44 points. Hillary Clinton won by 34 points. And Biden lost by 7 points. Apparently, changing his ringtone to Despacito was not enough to clinch the Latino vote, which is something he actually did, by the way.
Are you? Yikes!
Like,
Yikes!
Joe Biden, literally the only thing he did to reach out to Latinos was change his ringtone to Despacito.
Help.
And not only that,
Help.
he changed it to the Justin Bieber version of Despacito.
I was just about to ask which one. Wow. Yeah. That's a joke. I know you're serious, but that's a joke. That's a joke.
So basically, what Nina Turner is talking about is that we need a Democratic coalition that's not just like a rainbow coalition that all loves war, or like a rainbow coalition that wants to cut taxes on the rich or cut Social Security. We need a Democratic Party that actually fights for the will of their constituents. Like 85% of Democrats want Medicare for all. Like 90% want a Green New Deal. So like it wasn't like, first of all, trading in Latinos for affluent white suburbanites was the stupidest electoral strategy in history.
Say it again.
Like it was just so stupid because Trump got like, I think he got like a third of Latinos.
Interesting.
And like every single demographic that Trump lost in 2016, he got more votes this time than he did last time. Like Trump got a higher percentage of the black vote in 2020 than he did in 2016. He got almost half of Latinos. He got like more women than he did last time. He got more suburbanites than he did last time. So we need a working class Democratic Party.
Yeah, no, I agree. I loved everything she said. I think the thing that stuck out to me was like, we didn't need something that like being better than Trump is like low, because
it's the lowest bar in the world.
Okay, and it truly is. And I like, it's so crazy that you're like, he reached out for affluent white people, or for like
Suburbanites.
Suburbanites, there we go. Not just white people. Yikes, my bad.
I mean, is there any difference? I mean, there are poor whites. I mean,
for sure,
let's just make that clear. There are poor whites out there.
And there are affluent, you know, Latinx, African Americans,
of course,
Chinese. I mean, of course, like, they're not just white people, but it's so easy. Anyway, it's funny that you said that he went for like the moderate Republicans. That's what you said.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because on my way, it's so wild. It's a stupid election thing, like you said. But like on my way to work, I passed this billboard, and it was like, "I'm a Republican, but I'm voting for Joe Biden," and I was like, "What?
Who does that appeal to?
What? Right? I don't get it. I don't understand.
Like the concern here is that Joe Biden is too centrist. Like you're not alleviating our concerns here, you know?
Not at all. No, you're actually kind of making me more concerned. I was like, is this like a real thing? And I think like he really did run on the platform that like Trump is the problem, and Trump was no like walk in the park. Don't get me wrong, but definitely like Trump wasn't the only issue with the Republican Party.
Like I've been saying this for 4 years now, for more, like since Trump started running for president. I've been saying this. Donald Trump is not the problem. Donald Trump is a symptom of the problem.
Ooh, okay, there it is. Yeah.
Like he is the symptom of everything that's wrong with politics. Like, do you think that Trump would have been able to get elected if everything was fine in America?
No.
Of course not. Of course not.
Not at all. Do you think he would have stayed in office that long? No.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's not the problem. He's a symptom of the problem. It's just, like, I wish that people would realize that and just think that people don't want back to normal. They don't want normal. They want better. Okay. Because, like, if we just go back to normal, we're just going to be left with the circumstances that allowed Trump to get elected in the first place. And the next Trump isn't going to be an idiot. Like, we got lucky that Trump is just such an incompetent dunderhead. Like, the next Trump, I don't know who the next Trump is going to be. It might be Mike Pence. It might be Tom Cotton. I don't know. Maybe Tucker Carlson. He talked about running. But the next Trump is going to be far smarter and far more dangerous. So we need to actually improve the political system and the economic system in America so that we never get another Trump ever again.
Amen. Amen. You taking us to church, okay? Yeah. And I hope that happens. Like, sincerely.
Yeah. I mean, that's why pushing Biden left is so important. Like, a lot of people, like a lot of friends of mine were mocking me for saying that, like, oh, after Biden gets in, we're going to push him left, and we're going to do everything we can to push him left. A lot of friends of mine and people in my social circles were saying, you're never going to push him left. This is the guy who bragged about supporting segregation. This is the guy who wrote the crime bill. This is the guy who made it so students can't declare bankruptcy on their student loans. And, like, I'm skeptical of our ability to push Biden left, but that is literally the only thing we can do right now. Because, because Bernie didn't win, Warren didn't win, Andrew Yang didn't win, Marianne Williamson and Bill de Blasio and all these progressives, they didn't win. This is what losing looks like. So now the only thing we can do is to push Biden left. Because if we don't, then we're just going to get Andrew Cuomo in 2024. And we're going to get, like, an Andrew Cuomo in 2024 is actually the best case scenario. And I got no love for Andrew Cuomo. I mean, we might get Tom Cotton, who's like an actual fascist. We might get Tucker Carlson, who's a literal white supremacist.
Yikes.
So, like, we need to get to work, is my point. And you know who understands that better than anyone else? Nina freaking Turner. She gets that. And she's running for Congress. And if anyone here listening lives in Cleveland, vote for her. Cleveland, Ohio, vote for her.
Yeah. I want to move to Cleveland now so I can fucking vote for her. Let's be honest.
She's amazing. She's amazing. Not Spawn, but if she runs for president in 2024, I'm voting for her.
Same. Anything is possible. Shit. Yeah, let's do it. I hope she runs. You think she will?
I think she might, because she said she's thinking about it, so obviously it's on her radar. And, like, honestly, I don't think that there's a single person in the progressive movement that is more beloved than Nina Turner. Like, people love her. And
I can see it.
Like, I would highly recommend anyone listening or watching to, like, Google some of her speeches or watch them on YouTube. They're fantastic. She's incredible.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do after this. I love it. My last story, it's back on coronavirus, but it's not about the stay-at-home mandate. It's actually about the vaccine. So, like, let's see, Pfizer, I think that's how you say it, Pfizer vaccine. Pfizer, so that's one of the first vaccines that's being tested on people. And my thing about vaccines is, like, they're great, but it takes time. It takes time, and it takes money, and it takes trial and error to figure it out. And so once I found out, like, the Pfizer vaccine, so I wanted to take the flu vaccine to get, like, its shit together so that people could use it all the time. And it has taken, like, 10 to 15 years of research for the flu vaccine to, like, really get its stuff together. And then every year they're, like, working on it, or, you know, doing more research for new strands to find out which vaccine works for which strand, blah, blah, blah. So it's taking time, and I'm just hoping that the Pfizer vaccine works effectively, even though it's so new, and genuinely hoping that, like, as time goes on, we'll be able to find more effective and efficient vaccines for this virus that is, destroying everyone.
Yeah.
That's my story.
The preliminary trials have been good for Pfizer. I mean, like they tested it on, I think 70,000 people have taken it so far, and it's 95% effective.
That's good.
Yeah, it is good. But like the thing that worries me about these vaccines, right, is that like you already have like an anti-vax movement that's already existed pre-COVID, and a lot of people don't want to get vaccinated because like, and these are things that I've actually heard, that like Bill Gates is going to microchip me, or they think that because like the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines are this new technology, that they're mRNA vaccines, and they don't actually inject you with the weakened version of the disease, or they don't inject you with the dead virus. It's this new technology, and like I've heard, oh, it's going to change your DNA. It's not. I've heard like, because you've always had this sort of thing where people are like, oh, vaccines cause autism. They don't. Vaccines have mercury. They don't. So like it brings up issues of herd immunity, where like a lot of people won't want to take the vaccine. I think I saw a poll that was like 40% of Americans won't take the vaccine. And that means that we won't get to herd immunity very quickly, unfortunately, because of this anti-vax movement.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking, like, for myself, like, if I'm presented with the opportunity to take the vaccine, would I take it? And I genuinely don't know. I hate to say that, but like, I don't know.
I mean, I
I need
would
more research. Yeah.
here's the thing, right? So like I am terrified of needles. I'm absolutely terrified of needles. Like it's like the anticipation that gets me. Like I see a needle, I'm like, oh, like that. I'm shaking.
Yeah.
Um and if I can have the courage to take the COVID vaccine, even though I'm terrified of needles, you can too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, it's a little prick on your upper arm, but what's the trade off? You get coronavirus.
True. Yeah, no, true. Yeah. It's a pretty shitty trade-off.
Yeah. So, like, would you rather, like, have like a little needle that pricks your flesh for a second and then have side effects for 12 to 24 hours, or would you rather get coronavirus?
Yeah, no. The first one looks like a very good idea.
Yeah,
Compared, yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But that was it for my story. I'm just really interested in the
Yeah.
vaccine and
Yeah.
time.
I hope that they get as many vaccines to as many people as possible. I hope we're all immunized. Um, and I hope that by summer of next year, we can sort of get back to normal.
Please, Jesus, please.
Yeah.
I did not see it like lasting this long. I was like, oh, by December, it'll be
Yeah.
wrapped up, it'll be figured out, it'll be done, and here we
But
are.
again, people are stupid.
There we go.
Like if we all just agreed that we were going to like follow the protocols, we would be done with this by now.
Yeah, I feel that, but I also feel like maybe it's a leadership thing too, because like you said, like
Oh,
there's
for
so
sure, for
many different
sure.
channels, like no one knows who to believe. If it was handled correctly the first time around, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree
Yeah,
more.
I hate that. I hate that we're here, but we are. So let's
Yeah,
keep it pushing. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like, when we go back to normal, like, maybe we get like an in-person studio for this show. That would be cool.
Hey, that would be pretty neat. Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
It could be like the Breakfast Club.
Oh, great. Charlemagne, hit me up.
Okay, please have us. Not
Yeah.
sponsored, but sponsor
Yeah.
us if you want to.
Oh man. Okay, so shifting gears drastically,
Okay.
um, for my final story of the day, it's actually some pretty sad news, international news, actually. We have another police brutality incident that we have to talk about. Um, and this time it happened in Brazil. Um, so in Porto Alegre, which is a city in Brazil, there was this 40-year-old black man. His name was João Alberto Silveira Freitas. Um, and on November 19th, which coincidentally in Brazil was right after, it was either on or immediately after Black Consciousness Day in Brazil. He was beaten and killed by security guards at a supermarket. And usually, like I said in our first ever episode when we talked about this, when we talked about George Floyd, like a lot of people in Brazil don't really pay attention to police brutality. Like it's just like another Tuesday. But the good thing is like people are finally waking up now. So like um, the the city government of São Paulo, which is the biggest city in Brazil, um, they painted Black Lives Matter on the biggest avenue in the city. Um, there have been a ton of protests around the country, like not too dissimilar to the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor protests. Um, but what pisses me off is the hypocrisy that a lot of people have here, and the hypocrisy that a lot of elected officials have here. That Brazil has always kind of prided itself in being this incredibly inclusive, multicultural society. Like, it's actually this point of pride that we have that the Brazilian passport is actually the most expensive passport in the world to get on the black market, because Brazil is so multicultural that anyone can pass for a Brazilian. So, like, Brazil has the largest Japanese population outside of Japan. They have the largest Italian population outside of Italy. They have the largest Lebanese population outside of Lebanon. So, like, we're this incredibly multicultural and multiracial society, but we also have race segregated elevators.
Still to this day?
Yeah, to this
What
day.
the fuck? How does that
Brazil,
work?
well, technically they're class segregated elevators. I say that like it makes it any better.
Right.
But since poverty falls heavily on racial lines in Brazil, and since there basically is no middle class in Brazil, like you're either like really, really rich or really, really poor, they're essentially race segregated elevators. So like in my apartment, like we have one elevator that's for the residents of the building that I live in, and we have a separate jankier elevator that's for the help, for maids and nannies and drivers and delivery people. And yeah, so like we brag about being this multicultural inclusive society, but we have race segregated elevators. So like what pisses me off here is the hypocrisy. And like that the president Bolsonaro has the temerity to say that racism doesn't exist in Brazil. Like
What?
we like he says like we're incredibly multicultural and like we basically don't have racism here, but João Alberto just died. We have, like I said, race segregated elevators. So like it's just infuriating, and I'm gonna get off my soapbox now because I mean you're in this conversation. You're actually the person of color. You know more about this than I ever would. So just what are your thoughts?
Uh, mm, um. First of all, that's fucking wild. Like,
Yeah.
I had no idea that y'all still had race, class, segregated elevators. And I remember you saying like that violence is a thing that just happens in Brazil. So it's really crazy and amazing actually that like people are protesting the death of this man. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's growth. And it's wild that they put the Black Lives Matter on that busy street.
Yeah.
Because that to me, like that's something that they did here in the States as well. Like they put Black Lives Matter like around downtown where I live. And that like I don't know how to feel about that because half of me is like, okay, that's great, they're acknowledging it, but then the other half is like, well, what are they doing about
Yeah,
Black Lives
exactly.
Matter?
Exactly.
Like, what steps are they taking other than this just sticker on the fucking street? Like, I don't get it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, like and you raise a really good point cuz like the thing with these symbolic acts is that like it's really easy to sabotage and co-opt, right? Cuz like you look at the NBA for example. Like they offered the option of players being able to have a short message on the back of their jerseys, but they had to pick one message out of a pre-approved 28 options. And
wow.
just to illustrate my point, say her name was on the list, but Breonna Taylor was not.
Hmm. Hmm. So say whose name? Yeah, no, that's fucked up.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel about that. Because in one way it's like, okay, cool, yeah, it's getting spotlight, but like on the other day,
mm-hmm.
wait, it's like, what the fuck is it doing? Like what is it doing?
Mm-hmm.
What is it helping? What laws is it changing? What like huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how to, yeah, I don't know how to, yeah. But
because like with a ton of issues, right? Like there's no way that you can't see it outside of the prism of race, right? So like the drug war, like you can't see that as not racist, you know?
Yeah.
Because it was literally the point of the drug war was to
Okay, I
lock
was just
up
about to
black
say
people.
that.
Yeah, it was literally the point. We talked about that a few episodes ago.
Mhm.
And police brutality is another issue that like you can't not see it through a racist lens. Like I'm sure that if João Alberto was white, or even like a lighter shade of black, he would be alive today.
That's so wild.
Yeah,
That's so wild.
it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Like we always like seem to look into this gaping racial wound and we just pretend that it doesn't exist. And we're like, oh, nothing to see here. It's horrible, and I'm glad that people are waking up, but it shouldn't have taken this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't have taken someone being beat to death in a supermarket for people to pay attention to police brutality.
It shouldn't have. It
I
sh-
mean,
fuck. It shouldn't have taken Freddie Gray. It shouldn't have taken Breonna Taylor.
yeah,
It
it
shouldn't
shouldn't have
like.
taken Michael Brown.
It shouldn't have taken Michael Brown. I know Trayvon wasn't killed by the police, but still, that was some racial shit right there. But like, it shouldn't have taken it.
It's
Like, yeah,
yeah,
and it's still going. So,
yeah. We need to be better. We as a society, we need to be better. Like, and it's like a lot of people like talk about that, like, oh, black people need to take responsibility and like they need to solve this problem. But no, why should they have to solve a problem that they didn't create?
okay,
You know,
okay,
like it's it's heartbreaking that we still have to deal with this, and it's heartbreaking that I didn't notice that race segregated elevators was wrong until I moved to America. That like when
wow,
I'm because like I just grew up. I always grew up with race segregated elevators, and I didn't think anything of it.
yeah,
And after I got to America, I remember when I was at Vassar, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I mentioned to her that yeah, like we have one elevator for like buildings, apartment buildings have one elevator for residents and the other for the help. And she said that's fucked up. And I like honestly, it had never clicked before because I just grew up with it, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm not free of blame here myself. So like we just the point is we need to be better than this.
for sure. That's crazy that you mentioned that because that's your lifestyle, right? Like you don't know. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you're not the only one in that situation that doesn't. So like, damn, how would you know?
Yeah, like I used to travel to the US for like cuz I did musical theater summer camp for years in New York. Um and I just like never noticed that America didn't have race segregated elevators. Because like it just wasn't something that I thought about, you know?
Yeah. Ooh, thank you. Yeah, it was just a part of life. That's so fucking. So now that makes me wonder, like, how can we get people in your situation to, I don't know, get people in your situation to like know that that's like fucked up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, how? Like how?
Like, I think people are waking up, which is great. Like,
Yeah.
Michael Brown woke up a lot of people.
Thank God.
And Breonna Taylor woke up a lot of people, and Jacob Blake, he woke up a lot of people, and it's
Elijah
just,
McLean, Sandra
yeah.
Bland. Let's keep going. Let's keep
Ahmaud
going.
Aubrey, Tamir Rice. Oh, so many people. Like it's insane.
Rodney King.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
He was killed. I mean, with Martin Luther King especially, like I like to bring up this fact a lot because a lot of people sort of like, since Martin Luther King is viewed as this civil rights icon nowadays, a lot of people forget that he was despised in the 60s. Like, people who were like in power and white people hated him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the FBI literally wrote a letter telling him to kill himself.
Mm-hmm. I
So
want to say the FBI killed him, but let's keep going.
yeah. So it's like Martin Luther King said, the moral arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice.
Amen. So it just takes fucking time and effort and work and
Yeah.
time.
A lot of time.
So much time, bro.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Uh, if you're listening to this and just everything that we just ended up talking about got you down, just take a minute. Take a minute for yourself and do something that you enjoy because you fucking deserve it, okay? That's what I'm gonna do after we get off because I cannot, like, being
Watch
black in
some Nina
America is
Turner
hard.
speeches.
Okay, yes. Get inspired by her, like, words because that was real. What she said, what you read was so fucking real.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it. That's my.
Yeah. That's a great note to end off on. We will see you all in 2 weeks, and until then, goodbye, everyone.
Bye.